This October, we recognize an intelligent partnership, a profound shift from conventional separation to what quantum physicists might call entangled awareness. It's the recognition that you are not an isolated entity, but an integral expression within an interconnected field of consciousness. From this perspective, October's transformational energy isn't an external force acting upon you. It's a resonant field, expressing through you as a unique focal point in the greater consciousness system. The specific transformations emerging in your experience aren't random, but precise calibrations aligned with your evolutionary trajectory. A relationship completing its cycle isn't punishment or failure, but a perfectly timed transition, creating space for connections that truly reflect your expanding consciousness. A career shift isn't a setback, but a powerful reconfiguration, allowing a more authentic expression of your evolving gifts. The belief structures dissolving aren't mistakes being corrected, but limited understandings, naturally giving way to an expanded, more coherent perspective. When you recognize this intelligent partnership, your relationship with transformation fundamentally shifts. Instead of bracing against change as a threatening disruption, you move with it, seeing it as a natural expression of your own evolutionary intelligence. This profound shift doesn't eliminate the emotional processing that naturally accompanies transition, but it transmutes its quality. It moves from frightening disorientation to profound participation in your own becoming. This participatory relationship with October's energy reflects what ancient wisdom traditions call conscious evolution. The transition from unconscious development, driven by external circumstances, to intentional unfolding, guided by an aware partnership with greater intelligence. This isn't about controlling external events, but consciously cooperating with the evolutionary currents already moving through your life, amplifying their transformational potential through aligned participation rather than diminishing it through resistance. What makes October particularly significant in this conscious evolution process is its natural resonance with cycles of completion and initiation. The seasonal shift from summer's expansive expression to autumn's integrative wisdom creates ideal conditions for releasing what has fulfilled its purpose, while simultaneously forging space for what seeks to emerge. This natural rhythm provides the energetic template for conscious transformation, not a forced conclusion, but an organic completion, creating a fertile void from which new coherence naturally manifests. The distinctive quality of transformation occurring during October often carries what some traditions call quantum signatures, characteristics that distinguish evolutionary leaps from mere incremental improvements. These include non-linear progression, change occurring without passing through expected intermediate stages, holographic effects, shifts in one area, creating simultaneous transformation across multiple domains, and emergent properties, new capacities appearing, that transcend a simple combination of previous elements. These quantum signatures explain why October transformations often feel qualitatively different from ordinary change. A relationship transition doesn't merely substitute one connection for another, but fundamentally transforms your capacity for authentic relating. A career shift doesn't simply exchange one professional context for another, but reorganizes your entire relationship with contribution and purpose. A perspective shift doesn't merely add new information, it reorganizes your perceptual framework from its very foundation. As you navigate October's transformational gateway, remember that these shifts aren't just changing your external circumstances, but profoundly evolving who you are becoming. The forms transforming in your life, relationships, careers, living situations, belief structures, are simply external reflections of an internal evolution. The true transformation isn't happening to your circumstances, but through your consciousness, with external changes simply mirroring this deeper awakening. This understanding doesn't diminish the significance of external shifts, but places them in their proper context, not as random disruptions, but as coherent expressions of your own evolutionary intelligence, seeking more authentic manifestation. When viewed from this perspective, even challenging transitions reveal themselves as precisely calibrated catalysts for growth that your deeper wisdom has drawn into your experience, specifically because they contain the exact transformational potential you are ready to integrate. Months later, driving through an unfamiliar city, they stumbled upon that exact house for sale. The owners had only decided to sell 3 days earlier, yet the decision had been gestating for months due to a job transfer that wasn't yet confirmed. What Jung and Goddard both independently discovered is that future events cast subtle energetic shadows backward through time. These shadows emerge as premonitions, symbolic dreams, or sudden inexplicable knowing. When human consciousness enters certain receptive states, it can detect these temporal ripples before the actual event solidifies. Goddard termed this the bridge of incidents. When you anchor your awareness on a specific outcome, holding it as already accomplished, events begin orchestrating themselves in the unseen field. By distilling complex transformational intentions into a single-word essence, you bypass the analytical mind's tendency toward complexity and directly access what some traditions call consciousness technology, the capacity to affect energetic fields through precisely focused intention. The word you choose isn't merely descriptive, it's generative. It's not just naming your desired state, but actively helping to manifest it through focused attentional power. What makes this practice particularly potent during October is the heightened resonance between individual and collective fields during these transitional gateways. Your single-word declaration doesn't merely affect your personal field, but contributes to the greater morphic field, strengthening specific frequency patterns in the collective consciousness. One of Jung's patients, highly resistant and rational, dreamed of a golden scarab, an ancient Egyptian symbol of rebirth. During her next session, as she described the dream, a rare golden beetle tapped against Jung's office window. He opened it, caught the insect, and handed it to her with the words, "Here is your scarab." That synchronicity shattered her intellectual defenses, catalyzing a profound transformation that had been blocked for months. It completed within days. Goddard taught that these patterns follow exact, verifiable laws, not mystical randomness. First, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not abstract visualization, but full sensory immersion in already possessing what you are claiming. This is where neuroplasticity comes into play. Consistent emotional states literally rewire your brain to align with that reality. Second, maintain this state, particularly before sleep, when your conscious mind releases its critical grip. Third, observe without anxious monitoring as the incidents assemble. Anxiety disrupts the process, constantly checking if it's working, broadcasts doubt, and the field responds with more reasons for doubt. This invitation transcends conventional social media subscription. It's an invitation to engage what consciousness researchers call intentional community field generation, the creation of coherent energy fields through aligned intention among physically dispersed individuals. Unlike random digital aggregations based on algorithmic sorting, conscious field communities form through resonance with specific evolutionary frequencies, creating connections that transcend conventional space-time limitations. The invisible patterns of the universe never cease communicating. That sudden, inexplicable urge to call someone, they needed to hear from you. That strange impulse to avoid a particular route, an accident occurred there minutes later. That absolute knowing that something specific would happen, and it happened precisely as you knew. You've experienced all of this already. You've known the phone would ring before it rang. You've thought of someone who then appeared. You felt something important approaching, and watched it arrive. This field effect explains why consciousness evolution accelerates within coherent communities, compared to isolated individual development. The resonant field creates what some traditions call entrainment assistance, supporting individual alignment with specific frequencies through collective coherence that makes evolutionary shifts more accessible, sustainable than they would be through solitary effort. Your individual transformation both contributes to and receives support from this greater field coherence. What distinguishes this quantum community from conventional groupings is its foundation in consciousness, resonance, rather than external categorization. You're not joining based on demographic similarity, ideological agreement, or shared external circumstances, but through resonance with specific evolutionary frequencies that transcend these surface classifications. This creates connection possibilities that conventional community structures cannot access. Jung, still experiencing the strange heat, said calmly, "This is exactly what we're discussing, and to demonstrate it's a genuine phenomenon, I predict another crack will occur immediately." Seconds later, an identical sound erupted from the same shelf. Freud went pale. Jung later wrote about the look of horror on Freud's face, the horror of watching his entire worldview crack along with the sounds from the bookshelf. Their relationship never fully recovered. Jung had proven that intense internal states generate measurable external effects, a testament to the power of the embodied mind. In The Law and the Promise, Goddard mapped the precise mechanics of this phenomenon. He established that feeling is the creative secret. Imagination provides the form, but feeling provides the force. When you unite a clear mental image with the visceral sensation of its reality, you activate the profound mechanism that generates corresponding synchronicities. Consider this illustration. A woman longed for her estranged brother to return home after years of separation. She didn't attempt to persuade him. Instead, every night before falling asleep, she would imagine him sleeping in the next room. She heard his breathing patterns. She felt his presence in the house. She experienced the deep relief and joy of having him home. After 3 weeks of this nightly practice, her brother called to say he'd decided to return. He reported feeling an inexplicable pull toward home that began precisely when she started her practice. The universe responds to what you feel in your depths, not what you merely think on the surface. Superficial thoughts create nothing. Deep, sustained feeling reorganizes reality. Goddard discovered that the emotional frequency you consistently occupy determines what types of synchronicities manifest in your experience. Here's another example. A businessman, facing imminent bankruptcy, chose to cultivate a feeling of prosperity instead of panic. Every night, he counted imaginary money, felt the texture of bills, experienced the sensation of profound financial security. The quantum principles we've explored today about October's transformational energy connect directly to what I call synchronicity recognition. In my video, How the Universe Talks to You, Neville's Synchronicity. In that exploration, you'll discover exactly how these October shifts appear as divine communication through seemingly random events, the precise language the universe uses to confirm you're aligned with your highest timeline. Understanding this language of synchronicity is essential for navigating October's gateway with maximum awareness. Sustained anger magnetizes conflict. Authentic gratitude attracts more to be grateful for. Deep fear manifests precisely what is feared. Jung observed this clinically across thousands of patients. Those carrying profound guilt consistently attracted external circumstances that punished them. Those who cultivated genuine self-acceptance discovered unexpected acceptance in their world. The patterns were too consistent to dismiss as random. The external world functions as a mirror of internal reality, but an active mirror that dynamically assembles events to match the reflection. This information processing framework offers practical tools for navigating October's accelerated shifts. Consider implementing what consciousness researchers call coherent interpretation practice, a disciplined approach to meaning-making that transforms how you process life events. When unexpected change enters your experience, pause before automatically assigning negative meaning. Instead, ask, does this event contain intentional communication from the intelligent field of consciousness? What might it be revealing or directing me toward? This single question initiates a profound perceptual shift. Goddard found that most people sabotage the process by feeling the opposite of their desire during waking hours, effectively canceling the nighttime work. The feeling must be protected and maintained, like a precious seed. When you plant a seed, You don't excavate it daily to check for growth. When you imprint a feeling into the consciousness substrate, you trust the process while the incident bridge forms. The synchronicities that appear confirm the process is active. They are signals that the universe is responding to your dominant internal frequency. This isn't merely metaphorical, but reflects how consciousness interfaces with quantum systems. Chaos theory provides another useful framework through its concept of strange attractors. Seemingly random fluctuations eventually reveal an underlying pattern and order when viewed from a sufficient perspective. Your life experiences similarly contain a hidden order that becomes visible only when you zoom out beyond immediate circumstances. October's energy often facilitates this perspective shift, allowing you to recognize the coherent pattern within what previously appeared as disconnected events. The explanation lies in symbols functioning as potent bridges between dimensions of consciousness. Goddard discovered that when someone visualizes with emotional clarity, corresponding symbols begin appearing in physical reality as powerful confirmations. To grasp this mechanism, imagine someone repeatedly visualizing a specific ring, a gold band, an oval blue stone. They drew every detail, memorized every curve. 3 months later, in a distant city, someone they had just met produced a box from their pocket, explaining they'd been carrying this object for months, waiting to find the right person. It was the exact ring. Numbers operate as direct communication codes from the universe. Repeated numerical sequences aren't coincidental pattern recognition. Their specific frequencies indicate alignment or misalignment. Waking at 3:33 for weeks consecutively, repeatedly checking the clock at 11:11, receipts. Totaling 444 without calculation. Each numerical pattern carries specific information about the bridge between your internal and external worlds. Jung meticulously documented animals, appearing as symbolic messengers at precise moments. One patient, resistant to deep change, received visits from a particular crow whenever she considered abandoning therapy. The crow, an alchemical symbol for transformation through darkness, appeared exclusively during these resistance moments. When she finally broke through her psychological barriers, the visits stopped permanently. Symbol materialization follows precise laws. Goddard found that visualization, combined with genuine feeling, produces cascades of symbolic confirmation. What most fail to recognize about October's energy is its quantum acceleration properties. Unlike other transitional periods that gradually shift your reality, October creates ripples in your energetic field that amplify whatever frequency you're currently holding. This is why some experience profound breakthroughs during this month, while others feel unexpected challenges. The difference isn't in the month itself, but in your vibrational stance as you enter it. The universe responds not to your conscious intentions alone, but to the entirety of your energetic signature, including those subconscious patterns still operating beneath your awareness. This is crucial to understand. October doesn't create new conditions in your life. It intensifies and makes visible what was already present, but perhaps hidden from your conscious perception. That relationship that suddenly ends, the tension was already there, vibrating beneath the surface. That unexpected career opportunity, the seeds were already planted in the quantum field of potential, waiting for the right energetic conditions to manifest. October simply accelerates the rate at which these hidden realities become visible in your physical experience. Weeks later, he received a transformative proposal from Golden Lion Corporation, a company whose existence he'd been unaware of during the dreams. Symbols transcend linear time because they exist in the field where past, present, and future are simultaneous. Your consciousness, focused on a specific outcome, activates corresponding symbols that appear as cosmic breadcrumbs, guiding you through the incident bridge. Each symbolic appearance calibrates your trajectory, confirming alignment or signaling necessary course corrections. This awareness gap, the space between what's ending and your complete understanding of why, creates what quantum physicists might call a coherence discontinuity. Your conscious mind seeks patterns, explanations, and neat narratives to process change. But October's energy often initiates shifts before your analytical mind has fully comprehended the purpose. This isn't accidental. This timing actually serves your highest evolution by creating a temporary suspension of intellectual certainty, opening you to receive insights that transcend your current mental constructs. Specific people enter your life at the exact moment your internal states summon them. Goddard discovered that each significant person you encounter emerges as an external manifestation of assumptions you're holding internally. The mechanism is precise. You sustain a deep belief about yourself or life, and the universe organizes encounters confirming that belief. A lonely widow began internally assuming she was loved and valued. She didn't wait for external proof. She claimed the state first. Within 3 weeks, she received a letter from a childhood friend who'd been dreaming of her repeatedly and felt an irresistible impulse to reconnect. During the same period, 2 other distant friends made independent contact. None knew about the others, yet all reported the same inexplicable compulsion to reach out. The principle, "everyone is you pushed out," means each person in your experience represents an aspect of your consciousness manifested externally. October acts as a signal amplifier, strengthening certain frequencies that may have been present, but too subtle to consciously register during other times of the year. Consider the environmental shifts occurring during this seasonal transition. Temperature decreases, daylight diminishes, and suddenly, your surroundings vibrate at a different frequency. The natural world begins its retreat, releasing what no longer serves the greater cycle. Trees surrender their foliage, not from dysfunction, but to create energetic space for what's destined to manifest next. This natural cadence reminds us that transformation isn't primarily about abandonment. Difficult clients vanished, and people perfectly matching his visualization began seeking him out. Love at first sight operates through this mechanism. 2 people recognize each other instantly because each is manifesting what the other was internally summoning. The magnetic pull they experience is the consciousness field, signaling complementary internal pattern alignment. This explains why relationships initiated from different consciousness states produce drastically different outcomes. Consider someone desperately seeking employment. The more desperate she became, the more rejection she received. Every interviewer seemed to sense her neediness and withdraw. When she changed internally, assuming the feeling of being wanted and valuable, the same types of interviewers responded differently. Within 2 weeks, 3 offers arrived, different interviewers, but all manifesting the same pattern of immediate value recognition. Encounter synchronicities follow identifiable patterns. You think intensely about someone unseen for years, and they appear. This occurs because your intense thought creates a field disturbance the other person registers unconsciously as an impulse to make contact. Goddard discovered that visualizing specific conversations with absent people frequently resulted in those people initiating contact using the exact visualized words. What we've explored today about synchronicity and the bridge of incidents is just one frequency in a much larger system of conscious reality creation. The shifts you experience during October are part of a larger pattern of evolution that affects the entire human family, though each individual may experience it uniquely based on their specific soul curriculum. This is why certain global or collective shifts often seem to cluster around October. It's not merely coincidence, but the result of a resonant field effect. When a critical mass of individuals undergoes similar internal realignments, it creates ripple effects through the collective consciousness. The personal becomes planetary. He took her exactly where she needed to go, refused payment, and disappeared. She later learned he'd changed his usual route that day, following a hunch. Toxic relationships persist because we internally feed the state, sustaining them. Goddard taught that attempting to change the other person is futile. Transformation happens when you change your assumption about the relationship. One wife consistently visualized her alcoholic husband as sober, kind, and present. She didn't criticize or demand change. She maintained the image internally. This is spiritual responsibility in its truest sense. recognizing that your internal work has external consequences far beyond what your limited perception can track. Goddard documented a speaker who, before every presentation, assumed the audience was receptive, intelligent, and eager to learn. His lectures consistently received excellent responses. When he occasionally forgot this internal preparation and went on stage anxious, the identical presentation received lukewarm audience response. Every significant encounter in your life responds to a transmission you're emitting from your deepest consciousness layer. People appear to fulfill roles in the drama you're internally scripting. Changing the cast requires rewriting the internal script. When you assume a new state with sufficient conviction, the universe reorganizes encounters to correspond, bringing people who confirm your new story about yourself and life. What you experience depends largely on the observational stance you take. This isn't metaphorical, but quite literal. Your consciousness isn't passively recording a fixed external reality, but actively participating in determining which potential reality becomes your lived experience. The neuroscience of perception validates this understanding. Your brain receives millions of sensory inputs every second, but consciously processes only a tiny fraction, specifically, those inputs that align with your existing beliefs, expectations, and what you've programmed yourself to notice. This selective attention mechanism explains why two people can experience the same October day so differently. One has trained their perceptual filters to notice decay, diminishment, and ending. The synchronicity was the visible collapse of one specific possibility among infinite ones, orchestrated by the profound psychological necessity of that moment. Goddard mapped the exact mechanism. Your focused imagination selects which timeline you experience. Infinite versions of each moment exist. The version you experience is determined by the consciousness state you occupy. An architect repeatedly visualized a specific project that didn't yet exist, every detail, every line. Months later, a client approached with a request corresponding exactly to his visualization, including details the client couldn't have known. Premonitory dreams reveal consciousness's nonlinear nature. You dream a specific scene, then live it. The dream didn't predict the future. Your consciousness accessed the field where all moments coexist, and selected that possibility to collapse into experience. Goddard documented hundreds of cases where people dreamed specific events they later created by maintaining the dream's feeling. When you observe leaves descending, this mirrors the relationships naturally completing their cycle, the professional paths you've outgrown, or the behavioral patterns you finally release, because they no longer resonate with your expanding consciousness. The profound beauty in this natural shedding process lies in its organic quality, almost as if the universe itself is demonstrating how to gracefully release what has fulfilled its purpose. This isn't merely poetic, it's fundamentally practical in the quantum field. Scientific research on seasonal consciousness shifts demonstrates how these environmental cues influence your neurochemistry and emotional states. As daylight hours contract, your physiology naturally increases melatonin production, potentially deepening your rest cycles, while simultaneously making you more conscious of your energetic fluctuations. This rhythmic shift often intensifies introspection. During transitional seasons, people naturally gravitate toward reevaluating their choices and patterns. Your focused consciousness determines which configuration of infinite possibilities crystallizes into linear experience. This explains why you can change the past by changing how you observe it now, and you can experience the future by assuming its reality in the present. Goddard discovered the consciousness state occupied before sleep is particularly powerful for reality selection. In the hypnagogic state, the conscious mind releases control, and you directly access the mechanism collapsing possibilities. A woman in debt fell asleep nightly, feeling prosperous, imaginarily holding high-value checks. Within 3 months, an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative she didn't know existed materialized, precisely the values she'd imagined. Doubt and contradiction create distorted or incomplete collapses. When you oscillate between consciousness states, reality manifests this oscillation as contradictory, confusing events. Clarity and consistency in your internal state produce clean, rapid manifestations. One businessman maintained absolute certainty about a specific contract despite contrary evidence. The favored competitor inexplicably withdrew at the final hour. This phenomenon extends further. Observation changes the observed, even retroactively. Quantum delayed choice experiments prove present decisions affect past particle states. Goddard applied this practically by observing any situation from the desired outcome's perspective as already realized. You effectively reorganize the entire causality chain leading to it. Each moment contains infinite superposed possibilities awaiting collapse, determined by your conscious observation. Synchronicities are the visible evidence of this collapse occurring in the universe, reorganizing itself to correspond with the state your consciousness is selecting. You're not merely watching reality unfold. You are actively selecting which reality to experience through each conscious act of observation. Life responds not to what you desire, but to what you assume as real within your observing consciousness's deep field. Synchronicities aren't uniform. Each type carries specific messages, operates through distinct mechanisms, and requires different responses. Goddard identified 4 main categories the universe uses for communicating with human consciousness. Warning: synchronicities emerge as interruptions in the normal flow of events. 3 consecutive appointment cancellations with the same client. The car refusing to start precisely on the trip day. The important document vanishing before signing. These aren't random obstacles. They're the consciousness field signaling you're moving against the natural current of what's trying to emerge. Jung documented that consistently ignoring warnings leads to more dramatic interruptions. Your entire system is temporarily operating in an enhanced receptivity mode. Now, examine the symbolic dimension. Throughout history, October has represented the culmination of harvest seasons. It marked the time when communities collected what had been cultivated throughout the year, utilized what served their needs, and preserved essentials for the coming months. Whatever lacked purpose was cleared, leaving only what carried genuine value. This symbolism translates directly into our quantum experience today. You harvest wisdom, experiences, and consciousness expansion from preceding months, while simultaneously preparing for your next evolutionary phase by releasing energetic density and limitation. The harvest metaphor contains layers of wisdom that apply directly to consciousness evolution. Consider the discernment required during traditional harvest seasons. The careful separation of wheat from chaff, fruit from stem, usable from unusable. This archetypal process guides your own internal harvesting. October Energy asks, what experiences from the past months have generated wisdom you should preserve? What relationships have yielded connection that nourishes your highest expression? What creations have manifested that align with your soul's purpose? Simultaneously, it asks you to identify what must be composted, returned to the soil of consciousness, to be transformed into something new. That project that didn't manifest as expected isn't a failure, but material for future growth. That relationship that didn't evolve as anticipated isn't a mistake, but a lesson rich with insights about your authentic needs. The harvest metaphor reminds us that nothing is wasted in the economy of consciousness. Even what appears unusable serves the greater cycle when properly integrated. You don't wait for signs to act. You assume the desired state first, then synchronicities appear, confirming or correcting your trajectory. People waste years waiting for signs. The masters create them by claiming their reality. This is the profound power of conscious co-creation, a dance between your inner conviction and the boundless intelligence of the cosmos.